And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is K. Rose Golden, lifelong UFO experiencer and a gray human abductee. Kay, thank you for joining me today and welcome.
My pleasure to be on, Jeff. Thank you.
Well, when did this contact start for you?
Well, I guess the 2017, it was the day after Labor Day. We were living in Southern California. And my husband had a job with one of the big aerospace companies down there for about 18 months. But that wasn't probably the very first contact because it has been lifelong, but this is the one that sort of kicked me in the butt. Otherworldly, my shock from this was incredible. I mean, you live your life and you believe things. You know, maybe I didn't believe that we're the only ones in the universe, of course, and I've never believed that. But this experience in Diamond Bar just knocked me on my ass. So I'll start with that night. You know, it was about 11:30 at night, and we're in a rental house in Diamond Bar in Southern California, the Los Angeles area. And I noticed before I shut the lights off, before I made sure the coffee pot was off and made sure the cats were okay, so we had 3 male cats at the time. They were down on their respective spots on the sofa on their blankets. And it was a double or a 2-story home. Master bedrooms upstairs, guest bedrooms upstairs. And but before I did that, I think I was just walking around and I noticed that the neighbor's dog wasn't barking. And our neighbor was a doctor, and we didn't know him, very well, but we knew he came home at a certain time and he jumped in his swimming pool in the back. And the dog was always there, constantly barking. And we'd only been there for, oh my gosh, 28th, I think, is when the furniture movers came. And this happened just not even, a week and a half later, so right after Labor Day. But, you know, you kind of tune in on things when you move to a new place. You're listening. I do anyway. I'm very observant. I listen in for things that are commonplace in the neighborhood, like sirens and fire trucks and things like that. But anyway, the dog wasn't barking. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And I kind of went out in the backyard and looked. And this part is in my book. And I didn't see the guy swimming, but the light was on. But the dog just wasn't barking. And I thought, well, okay, fine. It's not barking, so it's peaceful. And so I came back in, locked the doors, and proceeded to go upstairs. And my leg was hurting me. I always have trouble with my legs. And so I was going to go sleep in the guest bedroom, which was my office. And I went into the master bedroom to get changed and wash my face and stuff. And for some reason, I got into the master bedroom bed. And that was about 11:30 or so, 11:40 maybe. And I guess I went to sleep because I had a very bizarre dream. And it was walking through some wooded area, maybe some mist on the ground, and maybe some trees. And then there was some beings over in an area. You could see that they were cloaked, hooded beings. I couldn't see any faces on them. They were all around this big black pot, and there was steam coming off the top of the pot. So I'm thinking, okay, they're boiling something, they're cooking something. And in this dream, I'm walking over there to see what it is they're boiling. And I don't get that close. So I get, all of a sudden they turn and there's just a bunch of hands grabbing at me. And then I wake up, I'm going, oh my God. So I'm awake. And then all of a sudden there's this bluish white light in the bedroom. I don't know where it came from. And then there was a vibration feeling through me, kind of like the bed was shaking, and I was feeling this vibration going through me. Blue white light, totally encompassing the bedroom, and freaking me out. And I'm sitting there going, okay, it's got to be police cars out in the cul-de-sac. So we lived on a cul-de-sac, and fire trucks. It's an earthquake. It's got to be an earthquake. That's why I'm feeling this, right? My husband's sound asleep, and I could still move at this point. And I'm looking at the master bedroom doorway, closet. I'm looking at the things I have up on the shelves. Nothing's rattling or shaking, so the room itself wasn't shaking. And again, 2-story house. So we're over the garage, and we have a window, 2 windows, and then covered with blinds, wooden blinds, and they were shut. Everything was tightly shut, and then heavy drapes on there. So locked, closed, shuttered, draped windows. Couldn't see anything. You can see a cop car's lights through that if you wanted to. So the light was just filling the room, and I'm sitting there, and I get on an elbow, and I'm just going, oh my God, what is this? And I looked over at the bathroom, because in that particular house, there were no doors for the bathroom area where the sinks are. It had the Hollywood mirrors around the big mirror, Hollywood lights around the big mirror, and no door. We had a curtain, but I mean, the lights weren't coming from that, and we don't have blue lights anyway. So that was bizarre enough. And then the lights kind of starts getting smaller and smaller until it's pretty much on the bed. And then it gets smaller and smaller until it's pretty much just on me on the bed. And the vibration's going through me really hard, really fast. It's very intense. I feel like I can't breathe. And I was laying back on my back again with my arms kind of tucked at my sides under the comforter, but on top of the sheet, because it's hot in Southern California, so I don't wear a whole lot. I still didn't like the humidity. Didn't agree with me. I'm from Colorado, but so I look through this beam after I feel something on the bottom of the bed. So it's like something touched my foot underneath the sheet, the comforter, and I'm going, oh my God. And then I'm looking through this. The beam of light got smaller and smaller, so it's tighter and tighter on me. And I can see straight down from the comforter. The comforter is white with these cute little purple and yellow and blue flowers. So in the book I wrote, basically that it seemed like it was a black light lighting up the comforter. It had that glow to it with the bright white and then those flowers popping on it. But I'm looking down there, and I see this maybe 3-4 inches of this round shape down there off the footboard. And I see these black eyes, kind of like cat's eyes, big, black. And even in this light, everything was so eerie. It was like, we had a ceiling fan above us that was on high because of the humidity and the heat. And I remember the light being in there, but nothing was casting shadows. There was no shadows of the 4 posts on the bed at all on the floor. And the ceiling fan going around like that, there should have been some shadow in that light. There was no shadow. So that was really freaky. So something touches my foot. I'm looking down. I see basically this 4 inches of this head. Looks gray with a little bit of a blue tint. Now the blue light was in there, but they still have a little bit of a blue tint to that skin tone of theirs. So I'm freaking out because it's touching my foot. I see this little hand, and I'm just going, oh my God, what the is this? I'm freaking out. And those eyes are just staring at me from down there at the footboard towards me. And I'm going, oh my God, what is this? What is this? Because you don't know what it is. I mean, I had no idea what this was. I mean, maybe something in the back of my mind said, I knew it shouldn't be in there. You don't want to be interrupted in the middle of your sleep at night. You don't want a burglar in your room. But that wasn't what I was thinking. I was thinking eventually it came to my head that this had to be some alien, some ET form, something that shouldn't be in the room. And I called it a thing in the book because I didn't know what else to call it. After a little while, Zeta Gray popped into my head for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, so I'm freaking out because of that. And I'm finding that I can't move. And this beam is tighter and tighter. It's just on my chest, going up and down my body. So it felt like, I can't breathe. The vibration's going through me. I'm having a terrible time breathing. But it seemed like that was scanning me. That's kind of what I wrote in the book. That it was sanitizing me or getting me ready for something as I look back on it. And that makes the most sense to me. But because I can't move, but I can turn my head. So I turn my head to the right to avoid looking at that thing down there. And this little creepy 4-fingered hand is moving up the comforter and trying to, get a better grab of my foot and pulling the comforter and the sheet off. And it's just 4 fingers with a little bitty short, long, like dark nails or claws, if you would. And there's one, as I'm turning my head, there's one right here by my nightstand, right next to me on the right side of the bed, and it's got its hand on part of my pillow, and another hand is holding that's his right hand. Left hand was holding the little metallic device of some kind, and brought it towards my right eye underneath here. And I don't know, I just felt pain, and that's that part. And I'm sitting here going in my head, okay, I'm having a horrible time breathing. This vibration is going through me. It's sucking the life out of me. I've got something down there. There's something here. What is this? And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is some sort of weird alien, and this is an abduction. I'm going, oh my dear God, please don't do this. I do not want this, please. And I thought, if I closed my eyes, and I opened them, they'd be gone. And this was all some horrible nightmare. So I closed my eyes just for a couple seconds, and I opened them again, and they were still there. And then I find myself, after that happened, I find the blue lights gone, and the being's down there, and it's grabbed my foot, it's taken the comforter and the sheet off the bed, and I'm being floated up above the bed. Don't know how, but I'm just basically levitating right up the bed. The ceiling fan's not that far from me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they're going to shred me. And you can't speak. I couldn't scream. I was made immobile. And the sheer panic that was going through me, now I could breathe again, thankfully, because the light was gone and the vibration was gone. But I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. And they floated me over the left side of the bed where my husband was sleeping, and I'm trying to scream to him, Charles, wake up. Don't you see what's happening? Don't you see these beings in our room? But nothing's coming out of my mouth. This is all in my head. I want it out, but it's like my mouth was sewn shut, and I could not say anything. I mean, I'm just totally immobile, paralyzed, whatever you want to call it. And I thought, as I was passing over him, and we were going to go through the post. My head was going to go through the post. And I was yelling at these beings saying, again, my mouth is shut, can't move it, but I'm thinking, you're going to kill me. That you're going to send me through a solid wood post, and you're going to hurt me. And I went right through the post, and at that point I thought, okay, if I can look down, I'll see my body down there, and I'll know this is just an out-of-body experience. Well, I tried to, as I'm floating, turn my head so I could look down, and I did not see my body down there at all. So that was very frightening. And then I'm being moved towards the window, so that I wasn't being taken, like physically walked out my bedroom door, down the stairs, and out the main door of the house, right? So they're going to pass me, and I realize it. They're going to take me through this locked, shuttered window with the drapes on it, and I had no control at all. I was scared to death. My heart was already beating fast, like galloping in my chest. Anyway, so they get me to the window, and we go through it. It's like nothing. But I mean, I felt a little bit of shock or tingle, and then I'm in a beam. I'm in a amber yellow colored beam going up, with one of these little zeta grays at my shoulder and one at my heel, base of my foot. And we're going up, and it's like an elevator. And the weird part of this was I didn't want to go. I'm a fighter, and I didn't want to go. And I thought, I'm in the beam, and you can still see outside of the beam. You can feel the air. You can smell things. I could smell the Pacific Ocean. And I saw our red roof tiles coming up, tall California home. And I thought, okay, here's my chance. I'm going to reach out and grab the very last tile I see, and grab it and try to hold on and not go. I don't want to go with them. But I found out you can't reach outside the beam. You're still immobile. No matter how bad you want to, you're stuck like that. You can't do. And what I wanted to do was escape, and I couldn't do it. So we're going up, and I'm looking, and I see that the stars are all blacked out above us. So there's something up there that's dark, and it's just blacking out the normal stars that are up in the sky. And I don't think we were more than maybe 400 feet up. I don't think it was any further than that. But anyway, the beam just kind of goes up like an elevator with us in it. And there were two other beings in the beam, or two other, I think there were two other humans with accompanying grays also in there. One guy actually had a blue kind of check bathrobe on, and one lady was in a blue cotton like nightgown. So I know that sounds very bizarre, but that's what happened. And anyway, we're going up, and the door opens, and it's not a swirly door. It just kind of it is circular, semicircular, and it just opens like this. And that's the last thing I pretty much remember is going up and ending and being there. And then all of a sudden, I'm on a table in the craft, and I don't know how long that took. The whole thing took less than 3 hours by the time I was returned home and looked at the clock and everything. And went, oh my God, and you're freaking out. But so I wake up on this table, and I can feel it. It's metal, it's cold, and my eyes are adjusting, everything's blurry. And this tall being is over me, behind me, looking down at me, and I'm seeing these eyes and going, holy, all kinds of thoughts are going through my head, like, what the hell is this? A few more choice words than that. And it's staring at me, and these eyes are like black, soulless pools of water, or maybe mirror, very reflective, totally black, no pupils whatsoever. Now, this tall being is a tall gray. So he's, and I didn't focus on that part. I'm just focusing on the eyes, and the eyes are just, I mean, you look at those, you don't want to. I mean, they just suck the life out of you. So in the book, I kind of say they're sort of soulless. But anyway, he's over me, he's doing that, and then I felt a jab in my back, up here, just between my spine and my left or right shoulder area. So that was bad enough. And then I ended up, the little Zeta Gray ended up, I should explain this. What I call the Zeta Grays are the ones that come and take you. These are the half robotic or biological beings that look like they have the big wraparound eyes. To me, they look like just really big sunglasses. But I mean, no pupils or anything in these eyes. But they're the ones that come and take you. And they're like worker bees on the crafts, the small crafts, the big crafts. So there's a Zeta Gray there. It comes and takes me off the table. I think takes me into another room and drapes something on me, because I think I thought, oh my God, I'm cold. It's freezing in here. And it was very cold. Not just the metal table, but the total environment was cold. So I was cold, and it got me somehow. It knew that I was cold, or the tall gray told it, hey, she's cold, put something on her, so they can be nice, I suppose, a little bit. But anyway, another being shot into the room, and it was like a big blur of dark green, just in, and then shot back out. But it did something to my arm, took blood or something over here, and then it shot out. And it was, my eyes were blurry, and I was trying to go, oh my God. So I kept going down this black spiral, unconsciousness, I guess, if you would. I went to 3 different rooms. So I think I woke up on another table that was shorter and smaller, and the little drape thing had fallen off of me. And then I had found that that might have been the 3rd room. The first room or the second room is the one where it had the device on my chest. And it was, I don't know what it was doing, but it had some little lights on it, and it felt like it was humming or vibrating. It was a little black box, or it could have been dark gray, but looked like a little black metal box that was sitting on me, and I was locked down, strapped down to this table. And that might have been the first table or second table. But I remember the tall gray also holding its four-fingered, long dark nail clawed hands, not claws, long dark nails, over my abdomen to take the pain away. And so whenever they do something to me, there's always pain involved, even though they say, K, calm, this is necessary, to try and calm me down. And then the pain comes, and then he is able to just put those 4 fingers over me, usually the belly or the abdomen area, and the pain just kind of starts to ebb away. So that happened. And that black box did leave a mark on me. I have scoop marks up here on my arm. I have the part where they had stabbed me in the back, and I had trouble with that later on for a couple of years. And I finally went to a dermatologist, and they did what they could for it. And I had to go back a year later, and they removed an entire 2-inch by 2-inch section back there. So I have a scar about this big back there because of that. I have a lot more marks on my body than I care to admit. And every time an experience happens, there seems to be one more triangle or one more scoop mark or one more inoculation mark, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so yeah, there were about 3 tables, and that was freaky. And when I was returned, it's kind of with complete ontological shock in my head. I'm just, oh my God. I think I jumped off the bed. I looked at the alarm clock, my husband's alarm clock, and it was like about 2:44 in the morning. So it was a good almost 3 hours that I was taken, and all these things were done. It felt longer than that. It felt horrible. And the first thing I did is I got my robe on, and I went downstairs and opened up the wings of the patio door. So we had the patio door, and then we had 2 side wings to go out into the concrete and breathe in some cool air and try to get my thoughts together. Made a pot of coffee, my usual thing, and grabbed a cup and went out there and sat. And I went over everything. I'm a logical person. I may believe that we're not alone in the universe. And at this point, I mean, that's obviously that was true. But it was me sitting there for quite a while outside, trying to go over every single thing. I had to go, okay, what just happened? What just happened to me? And I had to check off all these boxes. So it was like, okay, I had that bizarre dream. Oh my God. And then the blue light in the room. And I thought there were police cars, or there were fire trucks, or there was an emergency. I thought we had an earthquake. Husband was sound asleep, completely out of it, or switched off is the term that Bud Hopkins or David Jacobs used. And so it was just, I sat there and I just was crying and sobbing and crying and sobbing and trying to figure this whole thing out. And anybody out there who's had an experience like this, you're going to have that reaction, because this wasn't a happy thing that happened to me. This was a very menacing, very maniacal, very manipulative, very deceptive thing that happened. If these beings are so wonderful and want to hold hands and do kumbaya with us, why are they coming in the middle of the night, in the darkest hours before dawn, and taking people? No matter if they're taking them from the car, they're taking from the house, taking you from a road. Why are they so sneaky and deceptive? So that's, that was awful. And that's what shocked me. And I had a few more encounters after that there in Diamond Bar. That was the only encounter where I was taken up in a beam. The only that I remember being taken up in a beam.
Before we move on
Sure.
to your other encounters, do you feel that they were experimenting with you, or is it even possible that they were doing things to your body to even try to help it?
I gather that because I was put on 3 different tables, that yes, they were experimenting with me. I don't think I was just the normal abductee that they, whatever, take blood or I didn't even know about the hybridization program then at all. Now I do. But I mean, it's very confusing. And yeah, I'd say because I was on 3 different tables, and that cloaked being, which I found out later was a mantid being, that shot in and hit me with whatever in the arm and then shot out again, that I definitely was being experimented on. Most definitely.
Now, since you're a lifelong experiencer, are all your other previous sightings and potential abductions kind of like, well, maybe, or, what was going on before all this?
Oh, okay. So let's see. How do I sum all this up shortly? That's hard to do. Before the Diamond Bar thing happened, I had a couple of experiences in northeastern Colorado where we were renting a house. One of them was a blizzard in 2015 in February. I was coming out of work. Everybody was coming out of work at about midnight. And everybody's cars were frozen. My doors were frozen shut. It took forever to get the ice off and get going. And I didn't live that far from work, but I had my truck, and I don't know. I got out to my neighborhood, which we lived out east. And I got out to our neighborhood. Everything was black. Nothing, no lights, no power, nothing. And that was horrible because the snow was really coming down and I had nobody in front of me to watch. So my truck slid off a little bit. I fishtailed onto the curb, and I wasn't more than, a half a mile from right where our neighborhood is and where our rental house was. And I remember I was going, oh my God, I could get out and just go walk to the house and then leave the truck. And I thought, well, then I'll be a frozen popsicle on the street, because it was horrible. It was like 25 below. And being the neighborhood was black, I didn't think that was, probably nobody was out, but I didn't want to go walking out in the dark like that in a blizzard and then somebody find me the next morning as a human popsicle. So anyway, the engine stopped in the truck after I had fishtailed, and I was like, oh my God, no, the house is right there. And I kept thinking, oh, God, it's freezing. I had gloves on. I didn't have the best heating system in that particular Ford Ranger. I had it for, oh my God, I had that truck for like 17 years. But I hit my head. I just leaned forward. I hit my head a little bit on the steering wheel, and I thought, okay, I'll try to start the truck again. I tried not to flood it or anything, so it started, and I was able to get off the curb and get down to the area. It wasn't very far, like I said, half a mile to the street that turns right, and then there's like a half circle to get to our little street, and then our house was no more than 4 houses up on the right hand side, so it's a really short distance. And everything's black, and I'm going really slow, and because I don't want to slide again and hit the curb. And I come around and I get to our street, and I'm looking through. I mean, it's snowing hard. My wipers are trying to keep up with this, and I'm cold. My hands are freezing even through the gloves. I got my coat on, and I'm looking towards the house thinking, okay, I got to see if that tree is on the driveway, because if it is, then I can't park in the driveway. I've got to park on the road, and there's already 2 feet of snow just everywhere. So I'm looking towards the house, and I see this object right over our house, and I'm going, oh my God. So it was about the size of a Volkswagen car, maybe a little larger than that. And it had red, yellow, green, blue lights on it that were going around. And it was a saucer. And I'm just going, oh my God. And I had a terrible battle with myself in the truck going, I don't want to go forward because there's something over our house. And even through the snow, you could see how bright the lights were. And I'm just going, and I watched it as the wipers are going like this, trying to keep up with the snow. I'm watching it zip off to the south, southwest, and it kind of comes back, hovers over the house again. And when I say hover, it's like right over the roof, like maybe 10, 15, 20 feet over the roof. And then it shoots off to the north, and then it comes back. And I'm like, oh my God, and I didn't know what to think. I just wanted to get home. I was so tired. I was so cold. I wanted to get in the house. I wanted to get in bed and go to sleep. So it didn't occur to me that was a flying saucer, for lack of a better description. It just didn't occur to me. It shocked me that there was something over the house. But that part didn't occur to me yet. And so I'm going, God, I gotta get home. And it shot off again, and I watched it. I sat there, made sure the truck was in park, and the snow was starting to let up a little bit. And I just kept watching, kept going up, going over here, coming back right over the house roof, and then going down that way. And it shot up really high. And even in the little bit of snow, you could see how far it was going up. I must have been a good 800,000 feet. And it came back down again. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go home with this happening. And then finally it shot off, and I was able to go up to the driveway, and I ended up parking. I think I did park in the driveway, and the tree that we had in front lost the battle with the snow. It was kissing the ground pretty good. And as I was going into the house, everything felt really strange to me, kind of like I wasn't all there. And it could have been just because I was completely zonked and tired and cold and shivering and all that. When I got in there, and of course the power was still off, and I hung everything up on the coat rack, and I wanted to make some coffee or hot cocoa, something to help me revived me. And with the power off, I couldn't use the microwave, so I just grabbed a glass of milk. And I thought, I had this creepy feeling that that thing was still out there. So I was going to go open the sliding glass door and step out there and look. And couldn't get the sliding glass door open, and everything was frozen shut. So I gave up. I had lit a candle, and a 3-wick candle, and I took that in my milk and went upstairs and, put the candle on the table, and it's pitch black. And I got into a bathrobe and everything else and got into bed with my husband and just zonked out and went to sleep after I blew the candle out, of course. But I was like, that was crazy. And the next day after the blizzard had passed, I think it was 2015. It was like February 19th. So you can look that up and check the facts on that. And I went to where my horses boarded at this ranch a little further east. And I was talking to the lady who owns the ranch, and I go, I can't believe that blizzard last night. I go, I got to tell you what I saw. I go, I think I'm flipping out. And I told her, and she was pretty shocked. And she goes, well, what do you think that was? I said, honestly, I don't know. And then I said, maybe it was some kid's drone. Maybe some kid was screwing around in the middle of a blizzard where it's 25 below, had this awesome toy, and decided to use it over our house. And that's what I chalked it up as for a long time, until the Diamond Bar encounter, and then all these other experiences I've had that have knocked me on my and turned my world upside down. So that was that occurrence. And then a year later, in 2016, in the summer, it was August, I was doing some horse tack, because I did that as to help her, the lady who owned the ranch, did all her tack for her so that I got a discount on my horse board at the time. And so I'm out there, it's a nice day, beautiful weather, blue sky, not a cloud in the sky, and the house is in the path of the Denver International Airport as the planes go towards the mountain. So they fly right over us. Well, there was no air traffic. Interestingly enough, it was very quiet. So I had a glass of iced tea to the left of me on my little table, and I had a whole bunch of tack done, and I was just going to stretch my back and grab a drink. And as I grab the drink, I stretch back and I see, an object up above, and it was not an orb. This was not an orb. It was another basically silver glinting saucer. You could see the little like dome shape on it, and there were 2 of them up there. And I was thinking, and again, no air traffic from Denver, so I'm like this, and I'm watching this, and my mouth must have been open, because they were just doing their thing up above, kind of moving around each other. One goes this way, one goes that way, one comes back. They're moving around each other. You can see the sun glinting, and you can see the little dome top on them. They were that close. I mean, that was not more than probably 3,000 to 4,000 feet up, and it was almost straight up above our backyard where this was. And they weren't going too far. They'd shoot out maybe 5 or 6 miles probably, and then come back, and fast, really fast, like from point A to point B and then back again. And I'm obviously straining my neck watching this, but I'm not feeling that yet. I didn't feel that till afterwards. But I'm watching, and they come apart and they shoot together, and I'm thinking, oh my God, there's going to be a collision. There's going to be parts of plane or whatever those are, all over the place, all over the ground. And what happened was they came at each other, and it glowed. And then when it came apart, it was 3 of them. There were 3 of them. And that didn't make any sense to me, but I know what I saw. And it was eerily quiet in the backyard. I couldn't hear neighbors. I couldn't hear anything. It was like being in a dome almost, and just centered on that. So very weird, and no sound. And again, no air traffic. No, there was an airplane. There was no clouds. It was a beautiful blue day. And once they zipped off to the northeast, I got myself back together. Oh my God, what did I just see? And I tried to run into the house. I tripped over our Trace lounge chair. I slammed the sliding glass door, and I went in the living room, and I closed all the blinds, and I started crying on the couch. And I was like, wow, what the hell was that? And when I got myself together, I called my husband at his work, told him, hey, this is what I saw. Of course, he wasn't terribly supportive at the time of this stuff. And I called my son, called my daughter. Daughter said, Mom, you just saw a drone. Well, okay, do drones come together, glow, and then come apart, three like that, and dance around and then shoot? It didn't make sense. And I called DIA, I called Denver International. I called the news, the local Denver Channel 13, I think, news. And I said, hey, has anybody reported to you guys an unidentified flying object over the area? And I got laughter on the end of the line. And that wasn't, it was not what I expected. I would have expected somebody to be a little more professional at the news studio. So then I called DIA, and the lady who answered there, she was much nicer. And I said, hey, this is what I saw. Do you have any reports? Are you guys seeing anything? Do you have it on radar? And she kind of just said, why, no, ma'am. And then I called Peterson Air Force Base at the time. And it was, no, ma'am, we don't have anything like that now. Nowadays, I probably wouldn't believe anything by calling an Air Force base or Army base or Marine base, because they're not going to tell you the truth.
At some point in your life, you started having the ability to download messages. How did that happen, and what are you downloading?
Okay, so when the recurring dreams started in Diamond Bar. So it was almost right after the first or second encounter there that I had the dreams. I've had several of them, and they don't have happy endings. They're all very much basically crafts coming over and starting to drop things down, and people's houses getting, doors getting knocked in, and these things, these gray, very much robotic looking beings are breaking in and taking people and putting them on these ships, and they're going up to a bigger ship. And I can watch Dracula movies till the cows come home, and I don't dream about stuff like that ever. So this isn't something like I watched something and I had a dream. It wasn't like that. This first recurring dream that started before the messages started happening was I was just walking in a sort of an open space, there's an arroyo, there was a hill. I was watching a doe and her little fawn, walking kind of behind them, watching them, and tall grasses, and I see the big silver craft coming over. It's a little foggy, but I know it's the tall gray's craft, a 30-foot silver saucer with the lights around. Anyway, I know it's going to land, and he gets out, and I pretty much ends up pointing this way, and there's this big shimmer through the fog, kind of a reddish brick glow underneath, very shimmery, and it's square and it's huge. It's like football field type huge, Walmart type huge, big Walmart, super Walmart huge, and it's moving off, and I don't know where it was going to. That the open space, interestingly enough, looked a lot like the open space we ended up having behind us at the place we lived back in Northeast Colorado before we moved here to the ranch. Very interesting. But anyway, so it could have been going to Denver. I don't know, but I was definitely being warned in this dream that there was this thing coming and I needed to be watching, and it shot off. It was huge. It had this, I don't know if it was a force field or something underneath it, but you could see it. It was just really shimmery and reddish brick red underneath. And even in the fog, you could see it. It didn't just pass slowly over. There was no sound or anything. And then that was pretty much the end of the dream. So after that, the messages, I've had 5 or 6 recurring dreams. The downloaded messages I started getting at the other house in Northeast Colorado, where it would be basically before dawn, kind of a time before you're still sleeping and you're totally awake. I call it the cosmic zone I just named it that. So it's like a really quick thing where it's almost, I'd say it's related to remote viewing. Now, I've never had any training in remote viewing before, controlled remote viewing. I know it exists. I know people that do it. I've never had any training in it, but this is what it's feeling like. Like I'm being shown, I'm sent off to the coast, the East Coast of Virginia, and onto a ship, and it's silent, and nobody can see me, nobody can hear me. I'm watching, and I can see this big, huge triangle off this ship, off the ocean, rising up, and everybody on the ship is looking. I mean, you got the big wigs, the captains and all that stuff. And there's planes on the ship. I can see the planes on the ship, whether they're F-18s or whatever. And I don't see the name of the ship, but I'm on it and I'm watching this and I'm seeing this huge triangle out here. And they're freaking out about it, most of them. And it didn't look like it was like a man-made triangle, in my opinion. And then all of a sudden, I'm shot back to being in bed, back to waking up and going, oh God. But usually it's preceded by real quick in my head, K, just my name, and then I'm off. And I've had that. I've had so many of them. The last one I had was another triangle, and I don't think we were on a ship. It was up, and there were people on the ground, and it looked like either Air Force or Army military in a couple of their Jeeps or transport trucks. I know the Air Force ones used to be blue with white lettering on them, but they were getting ready. There was a big boom. So somebody was firing at this big triangle, and it glowed and it shot a beam down to the ground. So I don't think if it was one of our man-made ones, like a TR-3B that Lockheed Martin's responsible for, I don't think they would have shot at our own military. That doesn't quite make sense to me. So it had to be the real thing. And it's just real short. And then I see this glow, and it's a big boom. You hear the big boom, but everything else is quiet. And you kind of hear muttering from the military guys. I couldn't make it out. And then I'm back in the bed again, and I'm waiting. And again, that was preceded by K. So there's been quite a few of those weird things. And it is, I have to say, it's very much likened to control remote viewing, because I have nothing else to compare it to.
Do you think it's possible you have a chip inside of you somewhere, or an implant?
I do. That's what I thought was in my back. And I remember asking the dermatologist, I said, when you operate on me and you take that out, would you please tell me if you find anything abnormal in there? And I don't mean cancer. I mean some little black chip or device that you guys, it'd probably dissolve in water. That's kind of what I hear. But I would like to know. And he said, oh yeah, we'll let you know. Well, they never even called me about the biopsy. Never told me anything, whether it was benign or what was in there. But yeah, I have to believe that I'm being tracked, because they've gotten me here too, just a couple weeks ago.
At some point, you started having contact with a being that you refer to as Rex.
That's the tall gray.
Is that the same
the tall
tall gray from the abduction in 2017?
Yes, that
And
is the tall gray.
And you continue having contact with him?
Yep. So the last time, and I actually put a little YouTube video out, because it had been peaceful here for a while. Usually it takes about 5 or 6 months when you've moved before they start taking you again for whatever reason. But anyway, it was just a couple weeks ago, and I was shocked. I woke up sideways on the bed with my head almost touching the floor, because I had been taken that night and taken to his craft, a 30-foot craft. It's always bigger on the inside. And I was sitting on the table. I don't think I was laying on the table. They might have done some kind of experiment or procedure on me. I don't remember. But all I remember is him being there, and there's this thought transference. It's not telepathy. It's more like he can put thoughts into my head, and they can take thoughts out, by the way. And I can put my thoughts into his head. That's the communication part. So I'm asking, why am I here? What are you doing to me? And all I got was, and I've had this happen at least 3 times now since last December, or October, December. Anyway, he just basically said, there are more and bigger ships coming. And then I was put back. And the little Zeta Gray guy takes me by the elbow. We go through the hallway, the corridor, takes me to the glowing door, pushes me through it, and I'm back in bed. But this time I ended up sideways, and that does happen.
So what do you think that means? There are more and bigger ships coming.
I've been tuning in onto Avi Loeb and to this Three Eye Atlas a lot. I mean, I'm watching it every night on YouTube. Any updates I can get from anybody, I'm looking at. And I'm not an astronomer or anything, obviously, but with what that tall gray is saying and what I've come to find is there's other things out there that are coming supposedly with this Three Eye Atlas, and the fact that NASA shut down and we can't get the pictures from them very conveniently, mind you, is a little alarming. And Avi Loeb, I pretty much try, and I'm watching the other one, Macho.
Dr. Michio Kaku.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I can't. Yeah, Dr. Michio. I'm watching him too.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I haven't
Sure.
seen him recently. What is he saying?
It's just little short YouTube videos that he's saying that we do need to watch this, and he's kind of agreeing with Avi Loeb that it could very well be alien technology, alien tech, or maybe it's AI. But with the recurring dreams I've had, and these started before Atlas showed up, way before Atlas showed up. My recurring dreams were starting in 2018. So, yeah, I've been watching them and getting as much information as I can. So I've had 3 instances with the tall gray who has had told me that there are more and bigger ships coming.
How would you describe your relationship between you and Rex?
It's more of a I'm his pet, I guess. I'm there to be used, but I think he might be a little protective of me just because he wouldn't. I don't think they'd want to warn the human race if they were going to be really malevolent and taking over the planet, which is kind of what I believe is that they are infiltrating. You've already got the hybrids and more hybrids, and I've seen tons of them on the bigger craft in a nursery.
Can you tell us what those look like?
Oh, okay. So I think it was December, and was it this December or last December? Anyway, I ended up being taken and to the bigger ship, mothership, if you would, mothercraft, and I think there was some procedure done, and then I was led by the little Zeta Gray guy over to doorway, bigger doorway. Opened it up, walked in. It had this peachy weird glow, peachy pink like glow in this room. It was a huge room. All I could see were I want to say vats, but like test tubes, kind of all over the place. Big ones, like 4 feet high or so, and maybe a foot and a half wide. They probably don't need to be that big, but there were hundreds of them in this room, all over the place. And I realized right away what this was. And I saw this other tall gray. I'm going to assume female because she was wearing more of white rather than Rex's skin tight suit, more of a white almost suit with a smock. And I hear in my head, Kay, you must look at this. You must look. And that's from him, not from her. And the Zeta Gray, pushes me through, and I'm seeing this and going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I started to get dizzy because I'd never been exposed to this before. I've seen a little hybrid gray girl, and I've seen her a little bit bigger. Whether it's the same one, I don't know. But so I was getting dizzy. I was going to pass out. I think the little Zeta Gray went and got me some sort of stool or his chair, and I was able to sit. And then the tall gray female comes with this little draped bundle, and it's like kind of a green silk that's hanging off. It's really small, really, really small. And she brings it over to me, and I have to look because I'm being told I have to look at it. And I look, and I'm like, oh my God. So it's a little small face, eyes that are set a little further apart than human eyes. The skin is still kind of gray with a little bit of a blue tint. Ears are there. They look like human ears, really tiny, because this looked like a preemie baby, but even preemier than a normal human preemie baby, so really small. Little tight, regular, normal hand clenched. And I couldn't see the sex or anything, but the eyes opened, and they were really big sapphire blue, mesmerizing eyes. I didn't see any eyelashes or eyebrows or anything like that on this baby, if you would. And I didn't want to take it, but I was being told I have to take it. I had to hold it. I had to nurture it, whatever, for however long I had to do it. So I was reluctant about it. And then I know I touched the cheek with my finger, and it felt repulsive to me. It felt cold and clammy. And I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to believe anything like that's mine. I didn't want to believe it. I'm thinking now that it's a possibility, and I guess I'm warming up to it a little bit. But I didn't feel, I didn't feel love going through me for this hybrid baby. And I knew that's what this was. It's a hybrid baby, and they're showing me it, and I'm thinking, okay, they just want me to nurture it. They just want to show it a human, and I'm just the human available. And that's how I chalked it up. I just kind of said, okay, I'll do this because you're telling me to do it, but I didn't feel anything. But it was tiny, and it was gray with a little blue tint. It didn't have the skin tones that we have. It had the big blue eyes, too small, didn't have eyebrows. I didn't see any eyelashes. Little bitty nose, tiny. And I think because of the thoughts I had in my head, like, no, this is not mine. I'm not going to believe that. I don't want to do this. The tall gray female heard it or felt it. She came back over and took it away from me. And then I was able to finally, get escorted and leave the room. But that was, that was crazy. And other than having to go through that, having to go through the experiments I've gone through, which I will call experiments because there's been some weird ones. And then the hybridization program, which I know I've been part of.
How many hybrids do you think there are on the mothership?
Oh my gosh. Well, that room was big enough to probably have 200 at least in there on both sides of the room. And the incubation, whether those were taking from human mothers and put in there, or if they're a combination of, like a test tube baby, so to speak, where they mix the DNA and, okay, and then they put it in there to grow. And I don't know how long the growth process takes. Like I said, I've only seen a little 3-year-old one and big blue sapphire eyes in that one, and then the little older 8-year-old one, big blue sapphire eyes on her too. And I've seen the taller, more mature hybrids that look like teenagers. That was recent. That was Halloween night, 2024.
Once they've matured, do they look more similar to us, or do they still look quite different?
They still look quite different. The skin tone is different. The eyes are still set a little further apart. And they were wearing white uniforms. And I don't know if I was on a craft or if I was in some business warehouse somewhere else or on a planet. No idea. But they were wearing white, and they had a little white kind of tight-fitting suit. And I watched one of them walk, and these are not robotic, so that's how I knew they were hybrids. So fluid motion. They tried to swing their arms kind of like humans do to mimic us, but not all of them do it. But the one in front of me that was leading me did. 15-foot high walls. Everything was white. They were wearing white. Took me to a conference room. I'm going to call it a conference room. Big long table. 8 chairs, white, kind of poofy looking office chairs. And I was going to go sit at the table because obviously they were going to have some sort of talk or meeting. They brought in this human male, dark hair, kind of greenish brown eyes, and set him in a chair. And the one hybrid that walked me over to the side, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, well, I can't hear and I can't see very well. Shouldn't I be at the table? And in my head, I'm hearing Rex say, no, you need to be right there. And this big container thing comes down over me, and I'm able to hear, okay, what's going on? I can't see it that great, except through this transparent glass. But there was a seat there, so I had to sit, and that's what happened. They didn't want me at the table, but they wanted me to observe this. So the hybrid goes back over, female, and another hybrid comes in, sits. So there's the man on this side of the table, and then the 2 hybrids over here on this side of the table. And then there's some device that they set down in the middle of the table, and they're talking about trade. They're talking about this has to be right. And they're looking at this human man like he's screwed up. And I remember him saying, look, to be fair, your language is hard to decipher. That looks like a 7. And they said, no, that's not your number 7. This trade is really important. And they actually said the word trade. That's what I heard. And they can speak. They are speaking. And he's speaking. And I'm sitting here going, why am I here? Why do I have, and this guy is sweating. You can see the perspiration on him. He's scared and he's sweating. So why I had to see this, I don't know, but it was definitely something going on with trade. Now, trade with another species or our own planet, I don't know. But that was very bizarre. And I immediately, when I got back from that, I immediately called Linda Moulton Howe, like the day after Halloween, and said, this is what happened last night. Can you believe this? She goes, she'd never heard of that before. And I said, well, I'm telling you, this is what happened. And this is what the guy said. And this is what they said. And she goes, well, it makes sense that there would have to be trade in the system, in the universe somewhere. For him, they've got to get their pieces or their parts. I mean, they probably don't appear magically. I can't just manifest things out of thin air. Quantum entanglement being what it is, maybe, possibly, but it's that was awful. That was bizarre. It was being shown something that, and I was thinking, and I wrote it in my book, I said, if they're showing me a job that I have to do later in the future or something, I don't want that job. I have experience with, diamonds and jewelry and trade, but that's not something I would want to do. But that poor guy was just perspiring and he's shaken and scared.
Do you think it's possible that some of these hybrids could be walking among us unnoticed, or do they look too different?
No, I think there are. I've been going over that in my head, and in my next book, I'll probably go over it a little bit more in depth. But I keep thinking back to Betty and Barney Hill and that abduction. And let's say possibly, even though they may have been here longer and may have been doing stuff to us for way longer than this, it kind of seems like the 1960s were a time where people were getting taken and probably being used, and they're probably very good at erasing memories back then. Maybe now they're not so good at it. Why I remember, there's stuff I don't remember, but why I remember so much and other abductees don't is probably because of the experiments that they're doing. They're probably testing me for whatever they're lining me up for. And I do believe they're lining me up for something. And it isn't being a hybrid mom or, working in the nursery or anything like that. And that's why Atlas interests me so much. And that's why my recurring dreams scare me.
What do you think the end game is with the hybrid program? Replacing humanity?
Yes, I do. I think they're trying to make a less aggressive human. They want a little bit less aggressive human. They don't like the fighting and stuff that we're doing. Other people say they don't like what they're doing to the planet. They've been told, other abductees have said, they don't like what they're. I've been shown all kinds of things on screens, and from Hitler, from way back when in Egypt to Hitler to places I've never even seen before, showing slaves, showing grays as slaves, showing reptiles as cracking the whip, showing people getting dropped from a big ship as punishment. They have magnetic bracelets on. They're taken up if they try to leave the group, and they're dropped and they're dead, just to be blunt about it. Some of that has been the recurring dream, the downloaded messages, some of those. It is. I think they are trying to infiltrate and take over. I think they've been doing a good job of infiltrating. And yes, I do think they walk among us. Yep.
Your books are called Into the Gray's Abyss. If people want to find out more about them, where should they go?
You can get the books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much anywhere, draft to digital. If you just want to do the ebook thing, obviously Amazon. But I can show you the cover. I have the books here. So Into the Gray's Abyss. The first one is True Accounts of Kay's Otherworldly Abductions. Volume 1 is Unbelievable, If Not Experienced. And there you go. There's me floating It's not a 4-post bed like it should be, but that's okay. That's the book cover.
Mm-hmm.
And then volume 2 is The Abductions Continue.
And that's Rex.
And the reason why I rewrote it and redid this is because I wanted to make sure all the content that I couldn't put in the original book because of the length of it was in these. And this is why we rewrote them and split them into 2 volumes with my publisher.
Do you have a website?
I am actually getting the website done. I have hired somebody to do it because I'm not technically savvy. But I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Kay Golden, Facebook.
And you said YouTube as well, right?
And yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I've been posting more about my horses lately. Our horse, he was injured. More on that. But yes, there's a Kay Rose Golden YouTube channel too.
Okay.
And then I'm on all kinds of podcasts. So
well,
it's been fun.
Before we finish up,
mm-hmm.
Can you leave us with a last positive message?
Look up, but be wary.
Kay, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.